All I knew was I had a kid that was not in the norm of quote unquote what I thought, behaviorally was supposed to be. Logically, I didn't know what was happening. I just knew she was different than my older child.
And I think what you're talking about is all you notice is your kid is different from the Pinterest version of what everything is supposed to say or the book or this, that, the other. So it's not like you're tracking stuff and going, yeah, from the age of 3, you did this and that and the other. It just kind of snowballs until you get to the point where the fourth grade teacher is calling you and being like, da 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 da, right? So that's not necessarily something that parents have a reliable way to track.
I mean, but literally, we had an airplane ride one
Oh,
time.
I
Oh
remember
my
you
God.
said, yeah, this
Yeah.
story is
And both her dad and I were ready to open the door and toss her out. We're like, "Goodbye. We are no longer." Yeah,
what
and
door? I didn't see anything fly out of there.
right. Exactly. What was that whoosh? I don't know.
Gosh, nothing to see here.
Welcome to Drinks with the Girls. Conversations for women over 40 around connection, change, and the power of female friendship. Living well with stories to tell. I'm Karen, and this is Lisa.
We are moms and solopreneurs stepping into our own, diving into real conversations about things that matter to women in midlife.
We're here to spill the tea on everything that affects women in their 40s and beyond. Topics like loss and grief, changing relationships, launching kids, menopause, and reinventing ourselves in midlife. We are here to tackle it all.
Connect with us through a blend of our lived experiences, our friendship, the memory of our moms, plus a collection of real stories, honest conversations, and engaging interviews that will make women over 40 feel seen and remind them that they're not alone on this journey called life. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of Drinks with the Girls. We are so excited you are here for this conversation. And before we get going, I am excited about what I'm drinking tonight.
Okay, good.
I am drinking Zevia.
Oh,
can you see the?
I
go.
Can.
It's a zero sugar tea, and tea, unsweetened iced tea is my go-to bomb the shizzle, right? This is a blood orange, and it's sweetened Earl Grey tea, so I was a little, I think it's going to have that weird aftertaste. I'm not so sure. It is actually delicious, so highly recommend.
Cool. So it's the soda people that do Zevia soda.
I guess. Yeah, same?
I'm going to guess, yeah.
Same company. Okay. Yeah, it says organic stevia. Is stevia organic? Organic stevia leaf extract. Okay.
And with stevia, for all of you listeners out there that are like, aftertaste nasty, it's about how it's processed. If you have water processed stevia that's like high quality water process, it's a whole different ball game than that nasty aftertaste kind of stuff. So
do they have to put that on the package?
No, they don't. So it's kind of hit or miss, and there's not a regulation to do that. So
what are you drinking, darling?
I am going with my favorite that has just become my afternoon yummy, my Sparkle Hops, Pelican Berry, Sparkle Hops. Call me Pelican Berry. I'll be an affiliate.
So today, this is going to be an important episode for all of you mamas out there. If you have kids, I know there has come a time over the years that you have struggled with how to help your kid when they are struggling in school, whether it's in school, in college, whatever. Graduate school, right? Because even though they might move out of your house and move on, they always, especially if you have a daughter, they will always call you for, well, I don't want to say always. I don't want to make this sweeping generalization, but mine still likes to call me. So what do you do when your child is struggling in school or college or post-graduate work?
The things.
We're going to dive into that today.
Yes, we are. It doesn't matter the stage you're in. Karen always says this, like the parenting is never done, right? And especially when you get school involved, that's a whole other piece that's just super duper difficult. Okay, so Karen's been doing this longer than I have in the sense that her children are older. So she's, I think, coming at this from a place of like distance. I'm coming at this from a place of like being in the trenches right now. So it'll be good to get those perspectives. But Karen, maybe we can start out like, did your kids struggle in school? If so, what did they struggle with? And kind of what did that look like when you got kind of the first inklings of that?
Yeah, my firstborn did not struggle with anything, and that annoyed his younger sister very, very
That
much.
annoys me, frankly, because that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, no, he didn't he just was one of those kids that just kinda, did his thing and, he didn't really have any, struggles academically. I mean, he wasn't like, you know, he's not a brain surgeon,
Yep.
but, he just kind of skated through school, let's just say.
What about
Mm.
emotionally, mental health, like that kind of stuff?
I think, socially, he was always just kind of,
Yep.
everything was kosher. He was involved in things, sports and band and whatnot, and, yeah, I mean, I think school for him was just pretty much it's just what you do and you just get through it. He didn't have the experience like I'm like, "Get me the hell out of here with school." But, yeah, so for him, everything just kind of and then he went to college, same thing. I mean, maybe he had some emotional issues because he did start smoking weed in high school. So there's that piece, and then, of course, his father and I got a divorce when he was in college. He was a senior in college. So that, of course, impacted things. I know. My daughter, she had more struggles academically starting probably well, it was 4th grade when her teacher came to us and said, "Pretty sure she should be tested for ADD." And my ex-husband was like,
Not
"Nope,
having it.
we're not going down that road." So we didn't, and I mean, I think she definitely struggled. She had social anxiety issues. I remember I think I may have told this story on the podcast, but when she was a sophomore in high school and she was in Spanish, you have to speak when you take a language. You have to speak out loud. And, talking in the language in front of your peers and your teacher is part of it. And she never did. She was always like, "Hell no, I am not standing up in front of the class and doing whatever assignment you're supposed to." Somehow she passed with a
I
C.
was like, how the hell did she get through
I do
foreign
not kn
language class
Yes.
without speaking in the language out loud?
Yes, she
That's
must have
impressive, actually.
she has other magical talents. I
Oh
don't
my
know.
goodness.
But yeah, so that it was that it was apparent, and that was early on, she didn't want to be in the spotlight, she didn't wanna be in front of the class giving a presentation, and I was like that too as a child in school. But yeah, so we joke, she for sure has undiagnosed, ADD, ADHD,
That was
something.
gonna be my question is whether or not she feels like that was true and how she's
Yes,
coping with that now or any of that.
yes. And also her anxiety. Her anxiety has really impacted her, I mean, throughout school and then certainly, like, in applying for, big girl jobs
Yep.
and, going through that process and being and it surprises me that she spent the last year while she was finishing her teaching credentials substituting. Like, could you be in a more, like, wild environment, like, spontaneous it's like, "Oh, 7 a.m., I'm gonna call you, and you're gonna go to a different
So
school every day, different" and sometimes you're not even gonna have lesson plans. You're not gonna know what to do. New kids, you don't know their name.
just
And
entertain
the
them
f
and make them learn something.
Yes,
Go.
and the fact that she did that unmedicated, I am extremely
Dang.
surprised and proud of her. And she did end up getting a job, just for those of you who are invested in her journey.
Oh, she's
So
got a job now?
yes, she did. She got a
Oh my
job.
gosh, I didn't know. That's yay.
Yeah.
Yay,
Yeah,
yay, yay.
it's great. So
Good.
she's in a much better place than she was, like, 4 or 5 months ago, so
Halla bloody Luya, and is it near where she's living now, or
it is, it's, like, 30 minutes away,
gosh,
and
that's
she's in the process, yes, of trying to find an apartment because she's ready to move out of her dad's house at 27 years old.
hallelujah. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
so good
big
things are
relief.
happening.
I'm so happy to hear
Yes.
that because I was I
Yeah,
was I was sending her the vibes.
thank you.
Something you said made me think. So you guys know like my story, right? So I was a special ed teacher. I had a master's in special ed. I have two neurodivergent kids. I work in literacy, so I always joke that I am occupied every single chair around the meeting table at school time. But I do know that one of the things that they're finding now is that ADHD, ADD, and anxiety are often misdiagnosed for each other.
Hmm,
And
interesting.
what I mean by that is diagnosing, for example, ADD when it's actually anxiety. So, we've just gotten better at diagnosing things. Spoiler alert, I'll just say out there, yes, I have 2 children with autism. I did not inhale buckets of acetaminophen when I was pregnant with both of them. So there you go. And we won't go down that political rabbit hole, but I'm just gonna unequivocally state for the record how I come down on that particular issue. Anywho,
That's a
so
whole other podcast episode.
oh,
Woo.
yes, it is, yeah. So, I mean, for me, I'll just be honest, like, I never had the honeymoon period. It's never like, "Oh, well, there might be some problems." Like, it just showed up like it was, and the difference between my son and my daughter is my daughter coped pretty well and then was diagnosed much later with autism, as girls often are. So, I didn't necessarily really have the luxury of being like, I think there's something wrong," right? It just was pretty apparent with my son, and then she kinda got into it. But, everybody knows when they get those phone calls, whether it's a late night phone call in college or it's the school calling, like, I still have to, like, regulate my nervous system when the school calls me. And even if it's like, "Your child was marked absent." Yes, I excused her for the dental appointment. Like, my limbic system just starts vibrating at a nasty level when I get any of those calls. And sometimes they can't say what's wrong, right? Like, did you ever get calls from your kids in college where they were like, "I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong." I don't know.
No, not my son, nope. He barely called for anything. And then my daughter, like and again, it was things like, the more social things. She pledged a sorority and going through that process. Again, like, she made it. I can't believe it
Did
because
not
that,
speak
like
Spanish out loud, probably.
she did not, but she had to do other kind
Oh,
of questionable
I don't
things,
even know.
Yeah, and so it was just more like that, but nothing and then they would both of them would actually, mostly my son, but would just squeak by in some classes, just barely eke out a passing grade, and but in college, honestly, like, it's whatever, as long as you graduate.
Unless you're trying to get into medical school or law
Yes,
school or something like that.
yes,
And I
yeah,
think that's an important point to make, like, especially for people like me that are overachievers, like, I have a friend who has a kiddo that's neurodivergent. I'm hoping she's gonna come on the podcast, but, she talks about going because, like, she and her husband were highly educated, like, he went to Harvard or no, excuse me, he went to Columbia, she went to Smith, like, all the things, right? And they were just all panicky about this kiddo and going through college and, like, which college, and then she's like and all of a sudden it hit me, he just has to tick the box. Like, it
yeah.
doesn't what he wants to do, it doesn't matter if he goes to, like, JC and transfers or if he goes to, like, some Ivy League school, like, he just has to tick the box that he has a diploma, and so I do think we all bring our own stuff in with that just in terms of, like, how we see it, for sure. Mm.
Well, and let's just talk a little bit because I'm, like, flashing back because my kids are 27 and almost 30, and so it's been a minute since they've been in school. But the pressure, like, as a parent, you feel this pressure, like, "Oh my gosh, they have to do this thing because then I'll get them to the next thing, and then they have to do the next thing, and then because ultimately we want them to, get to college and get to a great college and then da da da." And it's just like, "Oh my god, can we just relax for a
Yeah.
second?"
And without going down another rabbit hole, it has changed. It has changed. It is no longer like, well, you have to go to Harvard if you want to get anywhere in life, or you're going to live in like a cardboard box by the side of the road. Like, that is just not the case anymore. There are other opportunities that are available. We all know that college debt is bananas. And so there's just it's different than when we were growing up. And I don't really want to like go down that on this particular episode, but it suffice to say, I think,
Yeah.
everybody knows that. And
Well, and if that pressure is gone, I mean, that's the thing. It's like if that for the parents and I mean for the kids certainly too, but it's like
yeah,
just for the parents to just relax and be like, "You
yep,
know what? It's okay. Not everybody has the same path and not everybody is going it's not going to be smooth for everybody, unfortunately."
yep. So how do we know if there's something going on or it's just like they're having a bad day, right? So the Centers for Disease Control says, anxiety, for example, right? Like the anxious generation. We've talked about that book, right? That shows the definite increase in anxiety that has happened since smartphones have shown up in the world for good or for bad, and how that disproportionately affects girls. So, what the CDC says is look for anxiety showing up in changes in sleep, appetite, irritability, like those are some of the kind of initial signs. Healthychildren.org says quitting activities or withdrawing socially are red flags. Karen, you've got a little bit more distance from this. Like, do you feel like you kind of knew something was up before the teacher called you and was like, we do want to get tested for that? Like, what were the mom feelers that kind of went off for you?
Well, again, I think it was that mom pressure, that parent pressure that your kid has to be a certain way. They have to, look adults in the eye. They have to say please and thank you. They have to, not have a I mean, logically, I didn't know what was happening. I just knew she was different than my older child.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, that shows up a lot. Yeah, I mean, and I think what you're talking about is like all you notice is your kid is different from the Pinterest version of what everything is supposed to say or the book or this, that, the other. So it's not like you're tracking stuff and going, yeah, from the age of 3, you did this and that and the other. Like it just kind of snowballs until you get to the point where the fourth grade teacher is calling you and being like, da 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 da, da, right? So that's not necessarily something that parents have a reliable way to track.
Big opinion, just all these things, be seen and not heard, although that was more our generation, but still it's a thing. Like when you go out in public, you expect kids to act a certain way, and then if they don't, then oh my god, something's wrong, right? And so with my daughter, it was, I'm looking at what, healthychildren.org talks about. She didn't necessarily quit activities, but she would definitely reach a limit because starting at 3, you're going in T-ball, right? You're going in soccer because that's what everybody does. That's what you're supposed to do because guess what? That's how you're going to get the athletic scholarship when you graduate high
Yes.
school
And be in the
by
Olympics, right?
right, by playing T-ball at 3 years old. But
Totally.
it was definitely overstimulating for her, and we didn't know that at the time. So, she would withdraw, she would have epic, meltdowns, at 5 years old on the softball field or whatever, and it's just yeah, not having the so at that point, I didn't really think, "Oh, yeah, ADD, ADHD, anxiety, or things like that." All I knew was I had a kid that was not in the norm of, quote, unquote, what I thought,
Yep.
behaviorally was supposed to be. And not that she was like but literally, we had an airplane ride one
Oh, I
time. Oh
remember
my
you
god.
said yeah, this
Yeah.
story is
And both her dad and I were ready to open the door and toss her out. We're like, "Goodbye. You are no we are
yeah.
no longer" yeah,
What
and
door? I didn't see anything fly out of there.
right. Exactly. What was that whoosh? I
Oh
don't know.
gosh. Nothing, nothing to see here.
My name is Karen Shatafian, and I am a shameless coffee addict and empowerment coach for women, and my love language is authenticity. My mission is helping women unapologetically design a life they're in love with. Because what the hell are we waiting for? My website, KarenShatafian.com, has all my coaching packages and free offers, like my midlife reclamation guide. In it, you'll find tools to help you decide how to create the most inspired and empowered version of yourself and your life. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram talking about ways women can show up for themselves after decades of showing up for everyone else. Join me as we throw off the shackles and live our best freaking lives. See the show notes for all the details. Cheers.
Logically, I didn't know what was happening. I just knew she was different than my older child.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, that shows up a lot. Yeah, I mean, and I think what you're talking about is like all you notice is your kid is different from the Pinterest version of what everything is supposed to say or the book or this, that, the other. So it's not like you're tracking stuff and going, yeah, from the age of 3, you did this and that and the other. Like it just kind of snowballs until you get to the point where the fourth grade teacher is calling you and being like, da 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 da, da, right? So that's not necessarily something that parents have a reliable way to track. So we talked about the panic of that phone call from school, which was real for me, man. I tell you what, I just got to the point where I was so triggered, like I could barely even function when I saw that happening and my heart would race and it's a whole big thing, right? So I was in panic mode like constantly. And so I was the one that was firing off the emails and calling back and all that. I wouldn't say I was a freeze kind of person, like in terms of the fight or flight. I tend to go in with action, but I also think that was because of my training and having been a teacher, a special ed teacher and working with these kinds of kids, like that's just kind of the mode I went into. Okay, let's problem solve, let's fix it. And I could be having a heart attack and dying inside, but that's the mode I went into. Okay, like what can we do? How can I support the teacher? Like, all these things. But I will say that, obviously my kids did not check all the boxes for sure. And it was very lonely and very, what's the word I'm looking for? Defeating to feel like you're trying all the things and nothing is working. And I remember very clearly, so my son was really struggling in school with behavioral issues, and we obviously know, like, there was reasons for that. And I remember the thing that he loved most in life was this, it was like a Lego railroad table that I got at, like, a consignment store, something like that. Like, he loved that thing, right? And so we hit the wall with school and nothing was working, and we're like, "Right, okay, we're gonna do what everybody tells us to do," and, like, my parents and we're gonna come down hard on this, like, seven-year-old kid, right? It breaks my heart to think about it. And we're like, "Right, Lego table's gone. It's going up to Pop and Nona's until, like, we hear that you're doing things right." And I look back on that and it makes me wanna just weep. Talk about, like, and I just I get emotional. It's like I remember his little face and what he looked like when we were taking that up there, and that was when things really started to change for me because it didn't make a damn bit of difference, right? We'd done this horrible thing and taken this away, right? And that's kind of the thing that like old school parenting talks about. Well, you just got to take stuff away and do all this until they start getting it together. But he wasn't getting it together. So, what does that mean? And I remember talking to the autism consultant at the time who actually, and both my husband and I know really well. He's running the special ed department of our local district. And I said, I don't know what to do. Like, we're doing all this stuff and we took away this and we're trying to punish him and blah, 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 blah. And nothing's changing. And he looked at me dead in the eye and said, Lisa, I really don't think he wants to be this way. I think that if he could, he would do all these things we're asking him to do. But I don't think he's able to do it for whatever reason. And so I really had to kinda look at that, right? Because this is the problem, is you're getting all these messages from society, from your family members, for all these people that are like, "They should be able to do this. They should be able to do that. They should be able to sit on an airplane and be entertained for 4 hours." All these things, and so you start blaming you, right?
Yep,
"I suck as a parent. I can't
yep,
figure out what's wrong with me."
yep,
And that is a dark place to be in, for sure.
absolutely. No, I feel that pain that you're feeling just talking about that and reliving it. And, we do the best that we can at the time, and we make mistakes. We don't get it right, even when you have training, right? Like, I was trained in psychology. I was gonna be a therapist, I was ready to take the test, so it's not like I didn't have some tools. But, yeah, when it's your own kids, you have that those heartstrings also,
Yeah.
right?
Honestly, like, for those of you out there that are like, "Oh my gosh, that's me." Like, yeah, I'm nodding along to this. Like, Karen and I both have master's degrees, and it was difficult for us. Like, I've talked very frankly on this podcast about the difficulties that my kids have gone through and what I've had to do to get them support. And my husband and I were both special ed teachers with master's degrees. So, it can be incredibly hard and, for parents that don't have the training that we had, I'm sure it's overwhelming because you don't even know where to start in the process,
Absolutely.
right?
And I mean, it's support. That is the key, is it is getting support. And I felt like when my kids were going through school, I was a stay-home mom, so I was, the room mom and I was on campus a lot because I was involved in this and doing that and, in the classroom. And so the teachers knew me and I became friends with some of them. And so with my daughter, the 4th grade teacher, she and I were friends. So she and I just kind of had a conversation about it. And then of course she had it again when we would do not back to school night, what's the other one? The conferences.
Open house?
I was thinking conferences, when the teachers sit down and, tell you, "Okay, this is where we're at, this is what's happening." But it's literally about support. It's about, not being afraid to say, "Hey, I think something is off, and I don't know what to do, and I need some support, either from the school or from other parents, but from somebody who's been there and somebody who can not judge you, not shame you, and give you legitimate
Yeah.
help and tools.
And it's hard to do that, right? Like, even me with this training, it's hard to be in a room full of so-called experts, basically waving the flag and saying, like, "Do I suck as a parent? Like, what I'm noticing these things and I don't know what to do." And you can either fight or flight, and you might like and the thing is like, you don't wanna fight the school. You don't wanna be in this, like, conflict situation with them, right? But you also don't feel like you have any power in those situations too. So I think that that can be just compound the frustration. So let's think about some practical supports that might help, right? Because we always like to leave you guys with some good information. So a lot of the questions that I frankly hear from parents are things like, if I go in and I fix it, they're never going to learn to do it on their own. Or, you know, if I say something, it's going to make it worse, right? It's that definitely like, I don't want to say pull you up by your bootstraps kind of thing, but it's, like I was joking with my daughter the other day because she's trying to get her first job. And I was like, okay, so do this and that and the other. I said, but, I will take you, but I'm not going to come in. And that never dawned on her. She was like, wait, what? I was like, no, babe. Like, have you heard about these 20 somethings that bring their parents into job interviews? Like, are you kidding me with this? I was like, that's not going to happen. She's like, "Oh, okay." And she's 15, people. So, like, better that we're having this conversation now than the 25-year-old who's like, can you answer that question, mom? Like, in a job
Yes,
interview, like, oh my god.
yes, exactly.
So there's those fears, right? I think that at a certain level, there's the organizational piece, right? Like you were saying, like, I knew there was stuff going on, but it was not like I was tracking the behaviors or like, I don't know, a record system, right? Like, did you ever get to that point where you felt like you needed to do that?
No, no, no. I just remember because I've been trying to think of like, well, what were interventions that we did? And the only thing that we really did starting probably, I wanna say maybe 6th grade, were tutors. We're just giving her support academically. But yeah, nothing I mean, we didn't do anything else, but we just had and actually my son had a tutor too in high school. I wanna
Yeah.
put that out there, be clear. But yeah, certainly through and also because, by the way, I think 5th grade math was as far as I could go, as far as I could help them with, so I was like, "All right, you're done.
Okay.
We're done. We're getting the tutor." Maybe
So
not 5th, maybe 7th.
what about college? Because I know you've talked about this. You've been really open about that. It was hard to walk that line between like giving them the opportunity to be responsible, but keeping a leash on from afar and just kind of make sure that the rails aren't falling apart. Like, granted, you didn't have kids that like went completely off the rails in college, but I know that that was a question for you.
Well, I mean, college is a wild time for a parent, think about it, like, if your kid goes away to college, because you've literally been responsible for this person for 18 years, 17 or 18 years, and you've done all the things, and granted, they gained more independence as they became teenagers and whatnot, but then all of a sudden they're gone, and they're supposed to be functioning as an adult by themselves. It's just very uncomfortable and strange. And this was like, right when my son went to college, FaceTime was just kind of becoming a thing. And I remember, feeling I would tell my ex-husband, be like, "Well, do you think it's okay if we FaceTime him? Like, do you think it," like, and how ridiculous, how silly, right? There's probably so many things, and things have come out that I have not really been thrilled about that they did, mostly my son, when he was in college, and I'm glad I didn't know about it at the time.
Thank you
I'm
for
glad.
sharing me.
Exactly. Because that's part of it too. When our kids go away to school or go away and move out and get a job and they leave the nest, it's our time too
Yeah.
to kind of like figure out, okay, now what does this mean for me? What does my next chapter look like? So it's like, yeah, don't be bringing all your college drama back for me because I got things I'm trying to figure out my dreams right now.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, you want them to have a safe space. You want them to be able to
Yeah.
come to you no matter how old they are, right? Because
Oh
you
yeah.
want them to feel seen, you want them to feel heard, right? But I think the difficulty is it's not like we get a manual when they're born. I don't care, like, what skills or deficits your child has. Nobody hands you a manual in the hospital, right? Like, I remember when we had, like, the meeting, right, when we were bringing my son home, like, the nurse is basically like, "Okay, I need to make sure you're not gonna kill this child, and then we can release you," right? Like, "Do you know how to" all these things, right? And then I remember with my daughter, bringing her home and looking around, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up, and I may have talked about this before, but I remember looking around going, "God, I wonder when their real parents are gonna show up." Literally, literally, and they go, "Holy shit." Oh my god. Wait, are
Yeah.
their real parents? Like, I don't know what I'm
Yes.
doing, like, oh my god, right?
Yes, and likewise, that's just exactly like how you feel when you send them away out when they leave the nest, kind of the same thing, but in reverse, like, "Oh my gosh, now I have this
Yeah,
this little human, and what do I do with them?"
yeah,
But
and
yeah, and to your point, I think if they had manuals, although What to Expect When You're Expecting was my was my manual that was popular,
yeah.
in the '90s. If somebody could create a manual, please, for for
Yes,
parents.
please. Yes, please. And the other thing is, like, we know that to raise healthy kids, that we have to have, like, a stable, organized environment at home, right? Like, kids need predictability, kids need a schedule, like, all these things, right? And so, I definitely tried all those things. I was the mom that couldn't get her kids on a sleep schedule. My son, the daycare provider, literally quit the business
Oh, boy.
after
Oh.
she had my child. She's like, "He's the hardest kid I've ever had to get on a
Oh,
sleep
shoot.
schedule." Yeah. So I had a little like insecurity going on after that, right? It was like,
Oh.
oh, right. And so, but it was me. It was like, well, but that was the first kind of clue, right? Because I was like, this woman's been doing this for like 25 years and she couldn't figure it out. So it was kind of like that started the niggling in my brain of like, maybe I don't totally suck. Like maybe this kid has some issues that aren't necessarily apparent. But I mean, I think it's hard because you're trying to do all the Pinterest things. You're trying to do what the books are telling you. You're putting in the organization and the structure and all of that. And some kids really respond to that, and you don't have to look too far other than just, like, throwing in there, but a lot of kids don't, and if you're trying to fly the airplane while building it, it's really, really difficult to be finding your way and trying to be that, like, rock solid source of support for your kids on top of everything, like, that is stressful. There's not a script or a system that, like you said, with the manual that it's like, "Here you go. This always works with all kids. Do this and you'll be fine."
Hey there, I'm Lisa Corachella McDowell, your midlife Pacific Northwest princess, here to guide you in the art of next leveling your life. I'm passionate about women's health and wellness in midlife, especially for moms parenting kids with unique needs like I do. I truly believe we can learn, grow, advocate, and care for the planet while taking care of ourselves and our families. And I'd love to help you do the same. And I'm beyond excited to tell you about my membership for maxed out mamas just like me, the Empowered Parent Collective. It's a space for parents to confidently advocate for their kids, build inclusive communities, educate themselves, and find balance and support along the way. To find out more about the Empowered Parent Collective, my classes, wellness offerings, parenting tips, advocacy resources, and exclusive Drinks with the Girls goodies, head to nextlevellifewithlisa.com. Let's survive and thrive in the messy middle together.
And I think when you throw school into the mix, I mean, just never mind just keeping the little things alive and whatnot, but then they start getting into school and they start, moving in the world and, making friendships and things. And I remember when I was an elementary school counselor, my job was to host the IEP meetings for,
Yeah.
students who needed special services. And the parents of the newly diagnosed kids it was definitely the deer in the headlights, like, they were overwhelmed, they were confused,
Mhm.
they were sad, they were angry sometimes, and it's like, trying to, help them not feel like it's an us against them type thing, and also help them like, we're a team,
Yeah.
we got this, we are the team that's gonna work, with you and your kid, but I think, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
and
like you
and
said, building the manual while you're flying the airplane.
totally. And, don't get me wrong, there are some times when you need to hold a school or a district responsible for things. Most parents don't know when that is and what
Yeah.
what they can do, so they're kind of flying blind. But the bottom line is like if you can work with the school and have a positive relationship with them, That's going to go a long way into kind of understanding what's going on. But that doesn't always happen. So there's, okay, when do I push? When do I not push? Like, what are my legal rights? Like,
Mhm. That's a big one.
right? Am I being too sensitive? Like, oh, it's fine. There's a lot of head trash that you really honestly are not very secure about in those situations, especially if your kid is in a public school that may not be the best fit, right? And it's like, well, what are my options? Like, what do I want to do? I want to homeschool. I don't want to homeschool. All because there's a lot more choice now, right? It's not just like public school, or if you're wealthy, you can send your kids off to private school. There's not really a recipe for that. And I think that people don't pull their kids out of school lightly, nor do people who have decided to make the choice to homeschool from the start make that decision lightly either, right? There's values that's involved, there's the structure of the home, right? Is there someone available? Like there's a lot of different kind of decisions to be made. So let me ask you a question. What we talked about the thing in fourth grade with your daughter, like what was, and I mean, it's hard to narrow it down to just one in my case, but what was the messiest parenting moment you had where you're like, I honestly have no earthly idea what to do, and this is a shit show. Other than the plane, other than throwing your child off the plane, which I can understand might be a new low for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I just wanna say too that both of my kids turned out to be great
They're
functioning
great guys,
citizens.
wonderful people.
They are, yes, but I have a good relationship with both of them. So, the biggest really fuck up in my parenting career was when I told them that their dad and I were getting a divorce. And that's a whole other thing, and that's not really what we're talking about today, but literally that is my biggest heartbreak is the way that I handled that because it was not well. But with my daughter, in terms of her when she was going through school, because she had these different behaviors and these different ways that she would try to communicate with us when she was having anxiety or when we kind of let her get away with a lot. And because her
Easier sometimes because she's like, I
100%.
don't have the bandwidth to deal with this.
Yes.
If I just
Yes.
let her have the soda at the movie, we can
Yes.
get through
Exactly.
this. My son
Yes.
can be fine and everything's
Yes.
going to be okay. And I'm going to
Yes.
hell, but at this point, I just want to get through it.
Yeah. And because my son was just easy peasy lemon squeezy, he was always making it's like, "Oh, okay." I mean, I remember one time, and this is so horrible. Well, not that horrible, but it's just so embarrassing. We were going to Mexico. We were driving down to Ensenada. My brother was here in town. It was Christmas break. We're gonna drive down, hang out in Baja for 5 days or whatever. And my daughter was probably 14, so she's not 3.
Yeah, she knows. She
And
knows. Should know better at this point for what.
she does not want to go. And she literally has the biggest meltdown, fit, whatever, and we did not go. And it's like, it I can't even and I mean, I don't even like thinking about that whole situation because anger, obviously, there was people were angry and yelling and screaming and, not hearing anybody. I mean, it was talk about a shit fucking show. Yeah, so I would say that is my messiest parenting and the one of those things that, whoa, I really wish I would have handled that differently, but, like, we had kind of created this monster who's actually lovely, and I love Peyton. You're a
And
fabulous woman.
is now a teacher, and I can't think of a better
Yes,
personality or kid with history to work with kids because she knows
yes,
how some of these kids are feeling, and she must
yeah,
just have such incredible empathy for kids that don't necessarily fix the mold.
and she
Fix the
is
mold, fit in the mold.
fit the mold, yeah, she's meant to be a teacher, like, it's in her, it's in who she is. Because let me tell you, she would not choose that profession if if it wasn't her fucking passion.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
I'm
a
sure you
whole
can
other
relate.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, but anyway, what about you? Do you have
Um,
any,
oh, I don't even know, like, which ones to pick. Like, do you have, like, an hour and a half? There was massive opportunities for messy parenting. And I look back and, people always say, people are doing the best that they can. And I 100% believe that. But I think somebody said this to me recently, and it just rang so true. The first part is true. People are just doing the best that they can. But the second part that was added on with the skills that they have at the time. So whenever I get on that bandwagon of just like, yep, left my daughter at a hotel because she was throwing a fit, and the front desk did have to call me and ask me if I'd abandoned my child and that she was sobbing and terrified. And then my husband found out and was ready to kill me, like why I abandoned our child. And what I wanted to say was, were you in that room when she was throwing things and like about to damage a hotel room? And I gave her, for some stupid reason, purple grape juice and she was throwing it everywhere. Were you there? No, I don't think you were. So to me, at the time, it was a reasonable decision. We were all going to cool down at Starbucks and then come back and get her. And I might add that after I told the nice man at the front desk why I had abandoned my child for, okay, let's be honest, 20 minutes, like, come on, was it days?
How old was she?
Probably 6 or 7.
Oh gosh.
Oh, my husband was ready to kill me. But, like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like, and so after the nice man at the front desk, I explained what had happened. He was like, "Oh, girl, like, I totally understand." He was like, "You take as long as you want. Once you've got it together, come back. We'll keep an eye on her. It's fine. I have been there." And it was like, it was so wonderful because it was like, oh my God, you see me. You really see me, you know? And I mean, I don't know if that's a messy parenting moment in that, like, I effed that up, but it's like, what do you do? Like, she was going to destroy a hotel property. Like, I did
And
not know what to do.
here is the beautiful thing that this stranger helped you feel validated.
Right.
And I think that's what we need as parents, especially when you are parenting kids who have challenges or who just don't move through the world as easily as their older brother
And it's
or
very
somebody
hard,
else.
yeah, not to feel alone, not to feel like this is me. I'm a shitty parent. Like you have no barometer. And it's not like it's the kind of thing where you want to be, hey, on Facebook. So, my daughter's having a meltdown and I don't know how to deal with it. And yeah, okay. Like nobody, I mean, in a small group on Facebook, you might, but people, it's not an easy thing to open up and tell people that you are struggling as a parent
Yes.
because that
Yes.
feels like a judgment on you. And what's wrong with me? Women have been having kids for thousands of years. Why am I the one that can't figure it out? Why can't
Yes.
I make this happen? Why does this thing not work that, like, Susie from down the block told me works magic? You start blaming yourself, and that is a dark friggin' place to be in.
No, it's horrible because what does society tell us? Like, you're not allowed to be a quote unquote bad mom.
Mhm.
Like, if you're a bad mom, that's
Yep.
like a fate worse than death for women who are parents, right?
Yep.
Unless you're like truly a really crappy mom, but and so you don't want that. So you of course you're not going to share that with people because you're embarrassed and you feel like you're the only one.
Yeah.
You don't feel like anybody else can relate. And then you get all this BS on Instagram, you
I
see
know.
all the curated things and it's
Social
like,
media
"Oh,
stuff. The
please,
AI.
please." Ugh.
Like, all those things. And frankly,
Yeah.
I'm to the point now where I follow parents on Instagram that don't have it all together and are really
Yes.
open with, like, "I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z." There's a really sweet account that I follow. They're on TikTok and Instagram, and it's called Jackson's Journey. I'll put it in the thing, but it's this little guy. He's like 2.5, and he has, I'm gonna butcher it, but I think it's called neuromyelin myopathy. I could be wrong, but it's basically this disease that his muscles and body were kind of born atrophied, so he doesn't have the strength to stand up. He doesn't have the strength to, like, keep his bones aligned and things. Like, it's a major deal, right? And he's already had all these surgeries. But I love the way that they post because it's very much like coming from an asset, right? So they'll have conversations with him about things, and you can just tell they're promoting like word development. And they're saying, okay, we're going to stand now, like, let's do this. So it's not this like pity party, but it's very much showing up for their real life and what's happening with this child. And, there's a whole debate going on about family vlogging and all that. So I'm not going to dive into that. But I guess for me, I appreciate it when parents are feeling real. And I mean, I think that for me was the piece that I was missing. I wish I could have waved a magic wand and had I had some, but had parents to talk to or people that had done this before me, not because I thought they'd fix it, but just so I knew I wasn't going crazy, right? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And not this like, oh, Susie down the street said this worked. It didn't work on my kid. And Susie's like, all right, whatever. Like, you're a little weird, lady, because that should work. Like that, I wish I'd had more of that for sure. What about you? Is there something that you wish you could have waved a magic wand that you would have helped?
I was expecting my daughter to be like my son.
Mm.
So it was like that expectation that something was wrong with her, and instead of, diving in and figuring out, well, what does she need? What can we do different?
Yeah.
And maybe even giving, pressuring my ex-husband, like, look, her teacher is saying that this could help her. Let's get her tested. But I was at that point where I didn't really have a voice, or I don't wanna say I didn't have a voice, but yeah, it took me a long time, and that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other podcast, but in order to really be contrary and just really stand up and say, because I didn't know myself. It's like, would this help? Would
Yeah.
this is it, So, yeah, so I think for me, it wasn't so much a system or something, it was just, I regret not looking deeper into that and giving her more compassion.
Mhm. But also think about it, like, you had all this training, you didn't really even know what your options were, even with the training you have, right? It was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, if we're not gonna get her medically diagnosed, we just gotta suffer through it and deal with this and da da da," like, it's not like there was a lot of options presented to you that you
Well, and
choose from or get some advice or even just, like, some steps to take.
yes, and it's interesting because when I was working, ADD and ADHD, you just saw it in the boys.
Yeah.
I mean, a few girls, but it wasn't really, they weren't being diagnosed, and it shows up differently. Like you said, it could, maybe it intermingles with anxiety. And so honestly, I don't know if my head was in the sand, I was an idiot. I don't know, but
You're
yeah.
not an idiot, don't
Thanks,
but
friend.
I know what you mean about, like, you just freeze, right? Because 'Cause you're
Yeah.
just like, "I don't even know which direction to go in."
Yeah.
And it
And she was functioning. It's not like, I mean, it was very sporadic, it wasn't in all areas of life, it was, every once in a while, and so it didn't seem like this big, huge thing that we had to figure out. Whereas looking back, it really could have made her, or certainly her educational life, a lot better.
Okay, quick pause. Have we talked about the Pod Squad lately?
Oh, the Pod Squad. You mean our email list / VIP lounge / digital wine club?
Exactly. So, listeners, if you're not on it yet, you're basically making life harder for yourself when it comes to podcasts.
Like trying to scroll for show notes while speed walking on a treadmill. Wait, what was that link again? Oh, no. Grab the side rails.
Or pulling up that book we mentioned while you're in the Starbucks line and then realizing everybody else moved up 3 cars and now you're
That woman.
We've all been there. That's why we made the Pod Squad. You'll get new episode alerts every week with direct links. Easy to listen, easy to share.
and show notes straight to your inbox. So when we drop a life-changing product, book, hot tip, or yummy new drink, you're not rummaging through your memory like a woman searching for her reading glasses when they're on top of her head.
It's organized, it's helpful, it's for you, babes.
So join the Pod Squad. The link is in the show notes. Just tap it.
Snacks, sarcasm, solidarity.
And obviously, fighting the patriarchy.
We write at dawn.
And the other thing is this idea of you're not alone. So back to the whole college thing, right? We always think, oh, they go to college, they do this and that and the other. But some of the research, just for college, I'm talking about, 60% of college students have faced a mental health issue. 60 freaking percent. That is the majority of college kids. That's insanity to me. Like that's what we're dealing with there, right?
Yeah. It does not surprise me that it's that high, honestly.
Right. And I mean, I can quote stats for kids and everything. Like obviously everybody knows 1 in 31 kids are diagnosed with autism now. And that's when I first started doing this work, it was something like 1 in 50, 1 in 100. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of like, why is that? Right. But the bottom line is kids are showing up with much more complex needs than they were before in an already strained system. And parents are not necessarily trained to figure out what's going on or even where to start. So, we've got some good news for you.
Here comes the good news.
So, one of the things that I have done is I have really tried to take all my experience as a parent, as an educator, as a consultant, and really kind of package that up into ways to give back. Like, I kind of, when things really hit the fan, but I was starting to get a hold on it, I remember thinking, there's got to be a way I can help other parents who are going through this. Not because I'm like this expert. I mean, on paper, I suppose I am. I've done this for over 20 years. I've got a master's degree, like all these
Girl,
things.
you have the education and the lived experience, so show me somebody who's more of an expert than you.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and I do feel like on some stuff I am an expert, but I also wanna make sure people understand, like, I'm in the trenches with you. I am not watching from the bleachers like, "I got it all figured out," but what I can help you with is how to find those answers and what some tools and systems and ideas are to start you on that right path so you can figure all that out. And I'm a parent that's gone through a lot of this, and so I can empathize with you, I can support you, I can say, "Hey, you're not crazy," right? So I have created something for Black Friday, which I'm super excited about, and it's I call it a Black Friday mega bundle. But basically what this is you guys know I have a membership. It's called the Empowered Parent Collective, and it's for parents like this, parents of kids with unique needs. Not necessarily special needs or IEP or whatever, but just kids that aren't fitting into the Pinterest mold. And it, for whatever reason, have some needs that you haven't been able to address. And I open that 3 times a year. The next time I'm opening it is in, I think, at the end of January, but I'll put that in the show notes. And so as a member, you get access to a lot of content and classes and all sorts of different things that I'm putting in there, group coaching, private coaching, all of that. So I started to think about like what's something I could do for parents that were having these conversations, not sure what to do. So, what I did was took a little smorgasbord of some of the resources that I have in there that are systematic, that are checklists, that are triage charts, flow charts, like things that will help people take the first step and kind of assess where they are at and created, like I said, this mega bundle. So all of this is going to be available as a package for 30% off what it normally retails for Black Friday, like outside of the membership. But because I love my listeners, I'm going to give you a code for an extra 10% off with the promo code that will be in the show notes. So if you're not subscribed to the Pod Squad, make sure you subscribe because I'm going to be sending out that promo code. And I mean, that 40% off is a pretty smoking deal. There's 6 different things you're going to get, and one of those is brand new just for the bundle. So one of them is a parent school communication kit. So for those of you that have kids in school, you're going to get scripts and emails. Like, how do I start this conversation? What's an appropriate way to start a conversation about concerns? How should I follow that up? What's the next in the sequence? Like, how do I start this journey? The next thing is for homeschool parents, right? Because people may not be in public schools. It's called the Focus and Regulation Homeschool Blueprint. So I talk about how to set up an environment in your home for a neurodivergent child or, just a kid that has some specific needs in your homeschool environment. Like, what's the best environment that's going to be conducive to help them be successful? The next one is called the Parent Cheat Sheet for School Success, and it's exactly what it sounds like. When do I push? When do I not? What's a good idea on how to get things done? How do I get my child tested? When is it appropriate to do that, right? So basically, stop, yellow, go for how you're interacting with the school and most successful ways to do that. The next thing is the behavior triage flow chart. So, kind of like Karen's situation, is this something that I got to call the doctor about? Is this something that's like not that big deal? Or what do I do next? Right. And so this flow chart takes you through all of those pieces. So you're not out there just like wondering what the heck to do. The next thing is a specific just for this bundle, and it's a brand new offering, and it's called the Holiday Survival Toolkit. And this focuses on things to do with kiddos that are neurodivergent or have unique needs to get through the holidays. Because we all know, even though it's like, yay, presents, like candy, all these things, that often that unregulated, like unusual kind of stuff just sends kids into orbit. So, what are some things that you can do to make this holiday season not such a freaking nightmare? So, that's the toolkit you're going to get. And then finally, I've got a brand new offering that my members will have access to called the School Meeting Notes and Organizer Pack. And I'm super excited about this because it's exactly like what it sounds. Okay. Like, I've got a school meeting. What do I need to take with me? What are things that I can say if I don't feel like I'm being heard? How do I keep track of it? What should I bring in with me? Like what is like data that I even need to take? Like what do I need to show up with so I can figure this out? So all of these different pieces and it helps you organize it, and then there's spots to take notes for everything, right? So spots for like these are my child's strengths, these are some areas of opportunity, areas of like I have these questions and I didn't get to ask them in the meeting, or these are the people that were there, how should I follow up? So it gives you just a really organized way to go into a meeting and advocate for your kid. So I am super excited to make that available to you all, and again, you're going to get it the regular Black Friday price, which I'm still setting up right now. It's going to be 30% off what you would pay retail, and then join the Pod Squad and get an extra 10% off. So you'll get 40% off, which is a crazy smoking deal. So I hope everybody takes me up on it. And again, the holiday survival toolkit is it's just available in this pack. I'm not necessarily making it available to my members. The holiday survival toolkit is exclusively for this bundle. You can't find it anywhere else. You can't even buy it on my website right now. So if a lot of this is ringing true, if you want to check it out, if you can't wait for Black Friday, just drop me a line, reach out, and I will set you up so you know the minute it goes on sale and get you that best price. And also, if you just have questions, right? If you're like, I am navigating X, Y, and Z, and I feel completely alone and I don't know what to do, like, can you help me? And I will suggest resources for you. And I mean, my membership might be the best thing for you. It may not be, but I know how hard it is to be in that place because I have been there, people. I have been there and it's not pretty. And at the very least, I can suggest the next step for you or suggest some resources. So please, please, please feel free to do that. Anything else you want to say as we wrap this sucker up?
I just wanna say, listeners, take her up on that. That's a very generous offer. I love that Drinks with the Girls squad gets an extra 10%. But if you are a parent who has questions, reach out to Lisa. She's a wealth of information, and if she cannot help you, if her membership's not the thing, if she doesn't have an offer for you or a service or a freebie, she will point you in the right direction because parenting is hard AF. So let's not make it harder. Let's ask no, seriously.
No, I'm laughing because it's so freaking true, right? Like, let's make it really hard to be a parent. Oh, wait, it already is. So, what can we
Yes.
do to mitigate some of that?
Yes, and the support, I mean, in itself, like, when I think about that and I flash back to, 10, 15 years ago, like, would have been nice to because I didn't really have people I could talk to about this. And you like we talked about earlier, you feel like you're the only one. You feel like it's just you and that you're a shit parent. And that's a bad way
Yeah,
to go through
it's
parenting.
it's not like you're gonna go have a drink with your girls and be like, "So, I have a confession to make. I'm a shitty parent. Help me out." Like, that's not
Exactly.
really gonna slip off the tongue to even frankly people that are your closest friends, because I know for me, like, what happened with us is our circle just got smaller because I just didn't wanna go through the pain and anguish of admitting that we were having all these problems and take the risk that I was gonna be rejected by people that, I was close to, and I'm sad to say it happened more than one would think. And so you just naturally just go into the bunker. And that is the absolute opposite place that I want parents to feel like they have to retreat to. Like we talk about as in terms of building this community on Drinks with the Girls, like there is community out there and there are people that will just walk with you and will not judge you and will just meet you where you're at. Like we all deserve that, but parents going through this especially deserve that. And frankly, I wish I had had that. And so when I built the membership and these resources out, it was literally done with that past version of me in mind. Like, what would have made it easier? What resource would have helped me not feel so freaking alone? And again, I have a master's degree in this stuff, y'all. Like, it's not like I didn't have some tools at my disposal. So please, it would be my honor to help you in whatever way I can. And, get something for Black Friday that isn't like, I mean, you can get a good deal on shoes and all those things, but, this is also a really good thing to help you out too.
Yes, listeners, so get out of the bunker, hit Lisa up, let her give you some support, whatever that looks like.
Let's just say you aren't a parent or you're a grandparent or, you feel like your kids are doing pretty well, but you have a friend who they are down in that bunker and your heart's breaking for them. Send them this episode, right? Reach out. If you're a Pod Squad member, it makes it so easy. You literally just hit forward and you can send it to them, right? Like, share, post a review, put it on social media because that's, again, we see this all the time. We're trying to build community. I'm certainly trying to build a community of parents in the stuff that I'm doing, but Karen and I together are trying to build community on this podcast. And so women in midlife don't have to feel like they're just out there up a creek without a paddle. So please do.
And we're doing it slowly, authentically. We are doing it. We are building and growing this
Yep.
community. So thank you, listeners, because you are such a huge part of that. We want to hear what you have to say. So if you are part of the Pod Squad, and why aren't you if you're
Yeah.
not,
Just saying.
reply to the email that you get. Let us know what's going on, what's shaking, what do you want to hear about, what do you want us to talk about, where have we gotten it really wrong? Like, just let us know all the things. We are here for you and to hear the things. We can take it.
Yep.
So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. And if you are a parent out there who has questions, who's struggling, please take Lisa up on her beautiful offer.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are at. And we're just going to say cheers.
Cheers.